In this video, I'm going to show you how to complete the Access Guided Project 3-2. So let's start with step 1. Step 1 is to open up the database start file. And the database start file is exactly what you see right here. So you're good to go with step 1. Step 2 says the file will be automatically renamed to include your name, which is great. Your name is included in the file name already. If your instructor tells you to rename it, this is the time to do so. But if they don't, you can just leave it as is. And then that completes step 2. Step 3 says enable the content in the security warning. If there is a yellow bar across the top portion of your screen, what you need to do is click the enable content button. Just double click it, and that will allow you to edit your database. And that completes step 3. In step 4, we're going to create a new summary query in the design view. So let's start with step 4A. We need to click the query design button, which is in the create tab. The create tab is in the upper portion of the left portion of your screen here. And what we need to do, and I'm going very slowly with the instructions. I actually print out the instructions. It makes it a lot easier. And I just check off items as I complete them. Do you have to have a printed copy? Absolutely not. But it does make it easier because you can write on it and then check off or cross out items that you've completed. So 4A says click the query design button. And you can see it's up here in this area. Query design. 4B, it says select the sailboat fleet table and click add. I'm going to move this up a little bit so we can see it. I click sailboat fleet and click add. Then I'm going to click SD rentals and click add. Then I can just close out of this. And that completes step 4D. 4E says increase the size of the table objects to display all the fields. Well, we can't see all the fields right here, so if you just put your pointer, your cursor, on the bottom portion of the screen, you can drag it, and you can also in the corner can make sure that it's enough. So we should be good to go with step 4E. 4F says click the drop down arrow by the first field, and it's down here towards the bottom. There's a drop down button, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make these columns just a little bit wider so it's easier to see the choices that are available to us. It's very important that you select the correct choice. And in the first drop down, we need to choose SD rentals period FK boat ID. SD rentals. It's this one right here. That's step 4F. 4G. We need to click the drop down. So we click into that top cell, then the drop down. Then we need to make sure that we click sailboat fleet dot boat type. Take your time with this, folks. Make sure you get it right the first time. In the third cell, we click into it, click the drop down, which actually drops it up on my computer. We need to choose sailboat fleet, full day rental rate. Sailboat fleet, full day rental rate. And lastly, we're going to do the same thing. Click in that cell, click the drop down. We're going to choose SD rentals, so let's find SD rentals, period, 4-hour rental question mark. And that should get us through step 4I. The next thing we need to do is click the totals button. And that says it's up in the design tab. So if your design tab is not showing, you need to click on it, click totals, and then we need to select run. And you should see exactly what I'm seeing on the screen right here. And you can also double check that with the instructions. It's figure 3-86 sailboat query results. And that completes step 4. In step 5, we're going to edit the query and add aggregate functions. So 5A says to click the view button. So let's make sure that we're on the home tab. And then over on the far left, you should see the view button. And then we can select design view. And this is the design view right here. We're going to be working down here for this step. So in 5B, it says click the total row for the full day rental field, rental rate field. And it's right here. So you can see this is the total row right here. I click the total row, and there's a drop down button, and I click sum, and that will take care of that total row right there. Next, I need to click the total row for the 4-hour rental question mark. Once again, I'm going very slowly here. I'm checking off each item as I complete it. And the drop down menu. And one of the choices towards the bottom is where. And I click where. We also need to make sure that this is not selected. So if it is, make sure that it's not selected. In 5F, we need to click the criteria row for the 4-hour rental and type in no. So you can see criteria is down here. I follow it over and I type in no. And if you get additional information, you can hit the escape key and it'll get rid of that. And that completes 5F. The next thing that we need to do is 5G. We need to run this. So once again, let's head on up to the Design tab and click Run. And if you did everything correctly, you should see what I'm seeing here on the screen. And you can also double check that with figure 3-88 in your instructions. And I'm just going to do a quick look here to make sure that we are on the right track. I'm just scanning the numbers. Otherwise, I would restart this project, but I can tell you that this is looking great. So we're going to call that a wrap for step 5. Step 6 says to save this particular query. So I'm going to click on the diskette button in the upper left-hand portion of the screen. Then you get the Save As area, and I'm going to type it in exactly as I see it, making sure the capitalization is correct. Do a quick double check of my spelling, and then click OK. And that completes step 6. Step 7. Let's verify that the query works correctly. So 7A says open the SD rentals table in the datasheet view. So I'm going to head over here on the left hand side and just double click the SD rentals, and now you can see the datasheet view. Once again, I'm going very slowly. That's why I take my time with these and I check off each item as I complete them. I've been doing this a long time, folks, and I can tell you that's the best way to ensure that you're on the right track. Every time I skip that, I get confused, and I'm an expert. 7B, click the drop down arrow in the boat ID field. And I'm going to select sort A to Z. Step 6D, I'm going to click the drop down arrow in the 4-hour rental field cell. It's over here. And I'm going to select sort cleared to select it. And I want to make sure that I get the right one because they look very, very similar. It's the second choice right here, sort cleared to select it. Also, another common mistake is to select the rental date drop down, but make sure that you're on the 4-hour rental field. And that completes 7E. 7F, we need to remove the sort button. So let's head over to the Home tab. And you can see towards the top left center portion of the screen it says Remove Sort. We're going to click that. Lastly, we're going to close the SD Rentals table. And I need to get the little X over here. And if prompted, I'm not going to save this, so be sure it says do not save the changes in this table. So I'm going to select no. And that completes step 7. Step 8. Let's save a copy of the query. So we're going to head over to the File tab here. And we're going to select Save As. Make sure you get this right, folks. Next, we need to click Save Object As. Once again, I'm checking them off. And then click Save As. And then I need to be sure to replace the suggested name with the name that's given in your instructions. Make sure you get the capitalization correct. Full Day Rentals. And I'm just going to double check it. Very easy to make mistakes. I do it all the time. When it looks good, we're going to click OK. And that's going to complete step 8. In step 9, we're going to edit the query and add additional fields. So let's go slowly. Step 9A. Let's click the View button and select Design View. 9B. It says drag the full day rental rate from a field from the sailboat fleet table to the 5th column of the query down here. So we could drag it over here, full day rental rate, or I could just double click it. Double clicking will work as well. I could drag or double click, and you can see that it appears down here. It might be a little bit small on your screen, but it appears down below. And that's 9B. 9C. It says select the total row. Once again, it may be a little hard to see on your screen, but I'm selecting the total row right here, and I'm checking off each item as I complete it. Very important to do. And I'm clicking the drop down arrow and selecting count. And that completes step 9C. 9D, it says drag the rental rate from the field SD Rentals. And once again, I could drag it down here or I could double click it. So let me make sure I get the right one. Rental date. Quick double click, and you can see that it appears down here. It's the 6th column. It says click the total row again. It has the words grouped by in it. That'll give you a clue. Then I need to select where. And then this causes the show row checkbox for the rental date field to be deselected. You can see that's deselected. So that's 9E. 9F. Select the criteria row. Remember, the criteria row is down at the bottom here. So that's criteria row in the rental date field. If I right click that, one of the choices is zoom. Then I need to type in exactly what you see in your instructions. Take your time here. I always say that. And you'll have to find those brackets. They're not commonly used when you're writing, but it is commonly used when you're doing things like access. I will double check to see that my spelling, my capitalization is correct. I will click OK. Then I will select the little diskette button in the upper left hand portion of the screen. It's the save button. And that will complete step 9. Step 10. Let's test it. So I click the run button. And then I need to enter the following very carefully. 2/1/2017. That's the start date. I click OK. It says the end date, 2/28/2017. And if we did this correctly, we should look like figure 3-90. So I'm just going to quickly look and see if these numbers look correct. Otherwise, we'll have to go back and repair some things. So far, it's looking pretty good. Checking the sum. And everything looks good. So then we're simply going to save and then close this query. And that completes step 10. Step 11. Let's review and see if we have it right. So I need to click on the full day rentals by boat summary. And what I can do is I can simply just right click and click design view. And then what they're asking is if down in the total row, you see that where down here has been moved to the right. And this doesn't affect the way it runs, but we're just checking to make sure that everything looks good, and it does. So then that's going to complete step 11. Step 12. We're going to create a new query in the design view. So 12A says click the query design button. Now we need to head up to the create tab. You can see the query design tab. We click it. Let me move this up so you can see it. And so we can select these both at once. I'm holding down the shift key, and you can see that I can now have both of those selected. And I'm checking off each one as I complete it. I click add. You can see that they're both up there. And then close. Next, 12D. We need to click the drop down arrow by the first field down here. And there's lots of choices. And I want to make sure that I select it properly. So what I'm going to do is click out of there. I'm actually going to make these two columns a little bit bigger so I can see. By the way, another way to do it is I could actually just find it up here. This is a shortcut and it'll appear down here. So I could either look through this list or I could find it up here. Let me look through this list so we can find it together so you can see where it is. This is 12D. SD Rentals Here's all the SD rentals dot FK boat ID. And there it is. That's 12D. In the sort row, I click it, use the drop down arrow, and then select ascending. And that completes 12E. In the second cell over here, we next need to find sailboat fleet boat type. I could come up here and look for it up there, but I'm going to use the job to do exactly what the instructions say. And I am going to select sailboat fleet dot boat type. And that completes 12F. Making sure that I did everything that the instructions say to do. I'm just quickly double checking. The last thing that we need to do, everything looks good. I'm going to click run. And if you did this correctly, you should see 28 records right here. And that completes step 12. Step 13. We're going to edit the query to display unique values. So the first step, we need to be on the Home tab, so let's make sure we're on the Home tab right here. In the Views group, we need to select Design View. And once again, there's only a few steps here, but I still take my time and check off each item as I complete it. Next, we need to click on the Property Sheet button. So we need to make sure we're on the Design Query Tools Design tab. Up towards the upper right hand portion, you'll see Property Sheet. It says click anywhere in this area right here to display all of the information. Once again, checking off each item. We need to click on unique values. We need to make that be yes. So take your time. Unique values. I click on it. There's a little drop down menu. I make that yes. I need to close the property sheet. Click run. And if you did it correctly, you should have 12 records. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that looks good, and that completes step 13. We're almost done, folks. Step 14. Edit the query so the boat type displays only once. So let's start off with 14A. 14A says click the View button, and then select the Design View. This is on the Home tab. That looks good. 14B, it says click the Sort row of the FK Boat ID, Sort row. There's a drop-down menu, and one of the choices is Not Sorted. Going to select Not Sorted. That's 14B. 14C, it says deselect, which means uncheck the show box in that same column. And then we need to click run. If we did this right, should have the 5 boat types, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to click save. And since we're so close, I want to be very careful not to misspell anything. Type in what you see, boat types rented. Okay. close it. Step 15 has us close the database. 16 has us upload to save our project file into SimNet, and then 17 will have you submit it for grading. Best of luck, folks.